and I found out it isn't. And it terrifies me.
Tell me how that episode was explained to you, like how Whitey's on the Moon was explained to you, and like what you'd be doing, and just like what was going on with Tick.
Well, that particular episode is interesting because it's one of the episodes that I spoke about with Misha before we even shot the pilot. And she said, in this episode, we're going to be exploring post-traumatic stress disorder. And what that is and what that looks like. And so, as you know, with Atticus, that's twofold, right? Instead of the monsters and instead of the Korean War. And so that was the exploration, you know, that he's a part of the, he's a Korean War veteran, which is known as the Forgotten War. And so he has that inside of him. And on top of that, he has now been in a battle with these Shoggoths and these police officers and sheriffs, etc., in the woods, guns, monsters, etc., and no one remembers it, right? So it's almost like he's being gaslit again, you know, and this time not by a society that just doesn't want to talk about the Korean War, but by his blood relative, Uncle George, and one of his best childhood friend, Letty Lewis. And so that's how it's explained. And then to the Wadi of the Moon of it, that element was that was kind of on the day, okay, let's see how this is going to go. You know, I knew that there was going to be a ceremony, you know, in the script. There's that, and then there's the, in the script, she wrote Whitey on the Moon, Gil Scott-Heron's Whitey on the Moon plays. That is pretty much all we had. And we kind of went from there. The other thing about that episode is that it's so much The Shining, you know, in many ways. You know, what is it, room 237? Is that the room? Mm-hmm. Yeah, room 237. The idea of like each one of these rooms represents, you know, this different thing. And it's the first time we kind of really dig into psychological horror, you know, and what that is. So you have the PTSD, which is almost a social horror, right, where it's not really making sense. And then on top of that, I guess we have a third element with each one of these guys in their rooms experiencing that fuckery. And then you have the revelation, well, Atticus has the revelation that he is of these people in a way, you know. So the idea of cults and, you know, Uncle George brings up the Freemasons, right? My family, my actual family happened to be Freemasons, etc. I'll shut up, but yeah.
The secret birthright Pop wrote about is real.
Our destinies are not decided by our families. You just have to seize it.
In some sense, I was wondering, like, you've done the whole season. Like, I'm wondering if, like, if I get to the, if like as a viewer, if I get to the end, if I should go back and watch from episode 1 and like I'll pick everything up. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll be like, oh shit, that's what that was. You know. Right.
I would say Misha did such a great job at allowing the audience to be as smart as they possibly could. Right? You have to be as smart as you can be. Not smarter than, you don't need to be smarter than you are. You just have to be as smart as you can be and trust the journey, right? There's certain things that happen literally in the overture, in the dream overture, right? That you'll see. That then if you, okay, now because we're in episode 2, right? In episode 2, there's something that happens that's connected that you may not realize, right? And you've gotten up to 5, perhaps?
Yeah, we got through 5.
Right. And so when you get to 6, a lot of things are going to go, whoop, got it.
We got to face this new world head on and stake our claim in it.
It's interesting because Letty and George are going through these kind of like dream fulfillment scenarios in some sense where they're like, oh my gosh, like this is what I secretly wanted to happen. Ultimately, like they realize that your dream is not always great. You know what I mean? But what Tick is going through seems to be just like pure terror from like the get-go, you know, like when he gets in his dream scenario. Right. I mean, like, are we supposed to know what's really going on there?
I think for me, you're getting exactly what you need in that moment, right? Because it all comes together, you know. And when I say it all comes together, there really is no moment in my reading of it, because as I work, I go, wait, Mish, how's this going to track? This doesn't track. And to her credit, she'll say, "What tracks here?" I go, "Oh, okay, cool." Or I'll say, "This doesn't track." She says, "Yeah," and then I'll get the script down the line where it goes, "Oh, okay, I've got it." You know, so yeah, slow and steady.
Without saying too much, there's a massive loss at the end of episode 2 that fans may not see coming. Like if you start at everything. How did you guys deal with all that? Like, how did you deal with summoning? I mean, I guess you guys had been through quite a lot in that short amount of filming time, or that length of filming time, summoning up that emotion.
Right. Well, for me, you know, that was an interesting day because it was the first time you had Courtney B. Vance's character, Michael K. Williams' character, Jurnee Smollett's character, and my character really all together, right? And so you had those actors there, and the moment that we were having to deal with was a very ancestral moment. It's something we all understand, and in that, you know, the brunt of it, you know, we kind of split up. I could feel it. We were all kind of carrying it, you know, because the event hits everybody differently and at a different time. And that, for me, was the day, and Michael K. tells a great story about it, but that was the day when I realized, okay, we are a family, you know, we are a family. And when you're with your family, you can go through tremendous emotions and tremendous events. And only because you're a family do you make it through it. And when we called cut on that particular scene, we were a wreck. You know, the emotion was still there because the emotion was real. And then it just kind of faded away, as real emotions do.
I thought I had everything I wanted, only to discover power like I've never known before.
I've read some stuff with Misha, and she's saying sort of the show is a lot about like, what are we willing to do for our freedom, and like, what does freedom actually mean? As we get deeper into the show, there is a question in my mind of like, even if the good guys, quote unquote, win here, like, is there a win? They can't turn back time, and they can't not have fought monsters unless they just like erase their memories. And then is that something you'd want to do too? You know, like, do you think there's ultimately a win available for these characters? I
think the win is survival. You know, that's winning, you know, to survive. And to, what does that mean? Not just physically, but to emotionally survive, to not let the experiences of war, of hardship, of familial trauma, you know, deaden your emotional life, you know, to survive spiritually, to still aspire for greater things in spite of a system in a society that is dampening your humanity and threatening at every turn to take your liberty, you know, so to keep that alive. So the survival of the spirit, the body, and the emotions, oh, that's a win. I mean, I would say that's a win in daily life too, not just in Lovecraft Country.
It's our story.
This birthright belongs to our family.